Okay, YouTubers, we left off yesterday. We've got a problem with the big valve, okay, on that hydraulic pump. This is the new part, and this is the new pin, and it's binding up on the shaft. Like right there, I can't push it on. It binds up really tight. Okay, so I've got the old part, the old valve, and the old pin. Okay, and I can put it on the new part. That slides up and down just fine. There's a little tiny bit of wobble in there, but I guess that's to be expected. You gotta get oil down there to keep it lubricated. Alright, and the old part, the new shaft will not fit into the old part. So they're milled different sizes. I can see this hole's bigger than this one. And the other thing that kind of worried me was the springs. If you look at the diameter of this spring, this is the old spring, and this is the new spring. See how much more big around it is? And if I push on them, the old spring is got more tension, and the new one is very light. Hardly anything to it at all. Makes me a little nervous on that. So I took the pin, the new pin, and I chucked it into my drill to kind of get an idea of how there's a little bit of wobble there. Of course, that could be in the chuck. I do have a piece of glass. I laid it on a piece of glass and rolled it on there, and it rolled nice. It didn't seem to be bent or crooked or anything. So what I did was I again chucked it in my drill. Alright, and I put the valve on there. Alright, and I held the trigger down while holding this, and just slid it back and forth, see if there was any burrs or high spots or anything. Now if I had some lapping compound I could put on there, but you might not be able to see it in the camera, but you can look down in there and you can see where there's a couple of shiny spots where it rubbed. So it seems to be pretty well freed up now. I can slide it back and forth and spin it, and do that to the other one. The first two on the first valve body seem to be okay, but I'll have to take them out and check them. And I think what I'm going to do is use the old springs instead of the new ones. One of the biggest reasons is the new spring is so big around that it seems to interfere Oh man, there's so many shadows here that maybe if I stand it up, that this little, the short spring seems to interfere because it's such a big diameter it can float around from this pin. You can see it's kind of hanging over the face of that valve. I'm not really crazy about that, so what I think I'll do instead is, that won't stand up when I want it to, will it? Is use the smaller one, because it was standing up. You can see there the spring doesn't hang way over in the face of the valve. I think I'm going to use the original springs, leave the new ones out. Okay. This, I just wanted to show you, this is some of the problems that you run into working on this stuff. You go online, you go on YouTube, and the guy's got the pump already out of the tractor. Yeah, I've just got these parts here and I'm going to put them in and put it back together, and they don't show any of the problems that you run into. And it's been my experience that all these projects, all of them, no matter what I do, there's always something that comes up, and you've got to figure out some sort of workaround. One thing I could do, I guess, is take a drill bit, and I've got some real fine sandpaper, wrap a little sandpaper around a small drill bit, put it down in there, and hit the drill and kind of sand the middle of this out a little bit. Maybe knock those high spots down. And I'm just not certain. I don't have a machine shop to be able to clamp this in devices that are perfect with dial indicator gauges and all that to measure things, to figure out and find out what or if there is a problem, and then the tools to repair that problem. Like these pins, if that pin is bent, they have ways of putting it in a little device that checks it, and they can straighten them. Sometimes by a lever that comes down, it's clamped in a device, a lever comes down, and they can press on it a little bit and check it and rotate it, and or some guys they find out where the bend is, how much the bend is, and they can heat it a little bit and then let it cool off, and the heat will kind of bend it back the way they want it to go, because they know from experience how to do it. Like I say, we're not a machine shop here. We're working out of the back of our pickup truck in the middle of the desert here, and oftentimes that's the working conditions one has. It's not a perfect world. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll use the old springs and the new valves, check everything real good, making sure that everything slides on the shaft real nice, because I don't want that to get hung up and then it's not going to work, because it is a job. I don't want to drain 5 gallons of oil out again. I don't want to have to scrape all these gaskets off again and buy new gaskets and wait for shipping, and you know, this is something I can only work on here and there, and yeah, so the hole that this thing came out of underneath the tractor, I've got a piece of plastic over the tractor, but still the wind has been blowing every day. I don't know how much dirt has gotten up in there. I'm going to have to get in there, I suppose, and clean that out. And yeah, so anyway, just some of the stuff that's happening with this project.